Hey everyone, it is Wednesday. That means it's hump day, and that means it's time for Dentists in the Know Humpday Happy Hour. This is your backstage pass for current trends, politics, and education in the dental world. We are live. We are over a little rosé tonight, or your cocktail of choice. I saw several different flavors already in the green room. So kind of excited for our guest tonight, who happened to be here as part of the AIDA group. Yes, Midwest Dental is in the house. Some great people. Tim Cluley and Scott Boldt are here. They're going to be talking about everything Midwest Dental, their involvement with the AIDA group, and just some of the vision behind an incredible and excellent dental company. But as you know, I am with my best friends in the industry, two great dentists, two great educators, and two great business owners. They are Dr. Chad Duplantis and Dr. Jennifer Bell. Together with me, Dr. Jeff Horowitz, we are the Dentists in the Know, and our job is to bring all of you in the know. So, my friends, how are you doing tonight?
Great. It's almost school season.
Oh, you're not in school yet?
No.
Oh, they are here. They went back.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Traffic's a
We're
bitch.
dumber up here. We don't need so much time.
Yeah, we just increased to that 88-day school year.
It's going great.
So how things going? I mean, you got your kids ready for school? Is everything under control up there?
Yeah, well, sure, why not? They're basically raising themselves now, so we're fine. I
it works
don't know.
For the wolves.
Yeah, correct. It's definitely that mental time, where I have to stop being lazy if I'm lazy. I don't really think I am lazy, but my definition of lazy, it's almost like New Year's Eve again. We're making a lot of resolutions. We have big plans for the next 4 months. We're going to finish hard, get our poop in a group, back to routine, back to schedule. So it's definitely a mental shift that happens, I think, this time of year. How about you guys?
Chad, you got
he's alone.
Both of years away. Is it pretty boring over there?
Yeah. So, it's funny. You were saying taking kids back to school and kids going to school. As you all know, last week we dropped our daughter off. So it's kind of in a daze on Wednesday night because we literally just come back. But, you're talking about getting kids ready for school. And as you were saying that, I was thinking, JB, you'll have to deal with this. But Jeff, you haven't. You drop a girl off at college. Have you ever imagined how much shit you can shove in one room in college? I mean, it's totally different. I mean, boys, it's socks, a top sheet, a bottom sheet, and a pillow, and a few clothes. And honestly, they only wear the same three things. And he's in his 4th year, and I think he still only wears the same three things.
Yeah, I've seen him. I've only seen 3 things.
I've never seen so much crap. And then this past weekend, we went up there to drop one more thing off. And I'm like, how did we fit this much stuff in the dorm room? I'm not even worried about dropping her off. I'm worried about picking her up. But she's back in school. She's doing great. We're really proud of her. And it's kind of crazy. But yeah, boys are different than girls. Jeff, I admire you because you got 2 boys, but
yeah, well, I keep saying I'm done, and somehow I still end up behind the wheel of a 14-foot U-Haul.
Yeah,
every couple of years. So.
I know, man. I know the things we do for our kids, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so like we get Thursday night, I got home. There's no kids in the house. I look at her, I say, "What do you want to do?" And she goes, "Let's go to happy hour." I'm in. Let's go.
Nice.
And had apps. And so we spent the next few days eating out and everything like that. And it's not too bad so far.
Kind of like a little honeymoon, you know?
Yeah, a little honeymoon.
Not too bad. Yeah. In bed by 8:30, at least I am.
Solid plans all around.
Yeah. Just too old to close the deal at the end.
And it doesn't happen to everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we're all laughing because it is time for yet another episode
annual
of
update.
Jeff's New Building Update. Yeah, so 3 years into it now, and we were supposed to move in last week. And well, we all know that got pretty screwed up, and we were supposed to go in, and fire marshal said, no, you need to have working smoke alarm or working remote detected smoke alarms in a temporary hallway. We had to build a temporary fire exit because there's construction going on in other parts of the building. So they had to put up a firewall. They had to build a little temporary fire escape. And then the fire marshal comes in at the last minute and says, sorry, you have to have sprinklers in this temporary hallway, and you have to have remotely monitored smoke alarms for this temporary hallway. So that's what set us back this time. But as it turned out, it was okay because my builders just simply forgot to put backing in the ceilings and walls for equipment. So you would never know I had done this twice before. I mean, I'm pretty experienced at building dental offices, and boy, this one just got away. It was ugly. So all right,
Jeff,
got it off my chest now.
No, I love this because I think we can all relate in one way or the other, whether it's a home, whether it's an office, whether it's something like that. But I just really would love to see the fire marshal in Murrells Inlet, South Carolina, because I've got this vision, and I think it's like, sorry, sir, park's closed.
I haven't met him personally yet. He's obviously been dealing with the guys.
That would be why he's still alive, right?
Yeah. I'm like, do I go Jersey? Do I got to just slip this guy some, slip him a little green? You know what I'm saying? Give him a little something in the palm, And they're like, no, sir, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
No.
Sorry, sir. Y'all might do that up north, but here in Murrells Inlet, what I'm looking for is a fishing trip. And I ain't talking off coast. I'm talking Florida black bass.
All right.
Anyway.
Did you see my post this week on Zen? Have you come across it in your practice yet?
Nothing like you've seen.
No, not like what you are. No one's like, you know what though? I'm also dealing with having sold Conway, I am dealing with a much older population now.
Yeah,
so
they're probably not using
I'm not going to see nearly as much of that as you probably are.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been very honest with patients to basically say it doesn't look the same as smokeless tobacco. It has similar characteristics, that wrinkly, brain-like looking tissue. But then there's a lot of other weird hyperkeratosis pathology that's really difficult to discern. And I've seen enough smokeless tobacco in my time to know that the majority of them resolve if they just switch sides or, whatever. But I've said to all the patients, I said, if you think we have data for me to tell you this is safe, I don't have it. So all I can tell you today is this looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
I'll see you in 2 weeks. I really hope it resolves. And the response from both of them was like, I think I'm going to stop. So we'll see. I said, well, if you think you can, obviously I think that would be best, but if nothing else, just switch sides so I can at least see. But I don't like the way it looks.
I thought it was a great and timely post, and hopefully we'll keep that alive. And as people start seeing this, maybe snap a picture and put pictures up on our pages, and let's talk about it, man. I love it.
I agree.
With that, what a good segue to news, JB. Did you do that on purpose?
Always and forever.
Good job. All right, let's do some news so we can bring
Are you ready?
Scott on, because these are two awesome guys who I love. We're going to have a lot of fun with them, and we're going to talk about the dental industry and Midwest dental. So, JB, give us the news.
Let's do it. Well, as we have proven time and time again, we are here to bring you the most important news stories of the day. And for those of you who haven't stayed current on the tooth fairy going rate, I'm here for you. It does change with time. it actually hit an all-time high, quite staggering, actually, in my opinion, of $6.23 just a few years ago for an all-time high per tooth cost. Well, in 2024, we've seen a decline. Is that a sign of the economy? Is it a sign of the recession that could be looming behind every corner? Because now the Tooth Fairy's average payout is only $5.84. We're almost down 50 cents from just a year ago. And a single tooth, first tooth cost, so that very first little baby lateral or the traumatic upper central incisor that knocks out from your brother's forehead, used to be worth $7.29 in 2023, now is only worth $7.09. Now, this is just polling data. Some kids are probably getting $20. Others might just be getting $1. But, I do think this could be a pretty strong metric. I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen it on the business networks, kind of forecasting maybe challenging times ahead. So if you're looking at the cost of eggs and milk and going, gosh, I think things are getting bad, you should be looking at the reimbursement rate for single tooth fairy under the pillow fees. And apparently we're starting to see a dip. So just keep that in mind, parents. It's okay if you feel like you can't do a full 5, okay? And making the rest of us look really bad in the process. The other interesting story comes out of Chad's great state of Texas. So we talked about the story a few months ago. If you'll remember, the FTC put out a ban on non-competes. It was a pretty aggressive document and actually had a pretty big impact in the dental industry. It certainly was going to be pretty impactful for associate docs and for individuals looking for employment or temporary employment. And the non-competes could impact where they could go after that job. The FTC said massive ban on non-competes, except for maybe high income earners and practice owners that had sold. Those might not change, but general associate non-competes were going to go away. Well, we're seeing our first shift in that. There was a court in North Texas, federal judge that came out for the first time and said this was outside of the scope of authority of the FTC to be mucking around with non-competes, and said that they would not uphold that change. Now, I'm sure this will now get challenged all the way up to the Supreme Court. But for me, this is the first indication, the first ruling that we're seeing post Supreme Court overturning the Chevron Act that basically allowed a lot of regulatory legislation to happen where FTC, CDC, the NIH, et cetera, could come up with regulatory statutes that kind of became law and maybe weren't within the jurisdiction of what Congress had originally charged them with. Well, she cited specifically in her ruling that this was not within the scope of the FTC as charged by Congress. So the reference back to the Supreme Court decision. And if that's the case, the likelihood of it being overturned by the same Supreme Court that just ruled against the Chevron Act will likely not happen. So for those of you who are banking on the non-compete because you employ or you're an associate and thinking non-competes won't be upheld, you might want to think again. And for those of you employing a lot of associates who had some concern about non-competes and them being overturned, just stay tuned. The sort of a moving target, I think, at this point, but probably best to operate as if no non-competes will be overturned at this point. And the Texas court there has sort of set the precedent. So looks like we might just be going back to business as usual with non-competes. And with that, that's the news.
Do you need us back now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
A very efficient news broadcast.
Yeah, it's still kind of summer. It's a little bit slow, So anyway, but I thought that was super interesting about the non-compete. So now I think it would be anybody's guess if you went to sue someone because they infringed on your non-compete or you didn't want to adhere to it. Now there might be precedent that wouldn't stand up in court. So.
Well, that was pretty scary. I'll be honest with you. For a lot of people, that was pretty scary because that's all you have when you turn your books over to an associate and say, here's everything I have, go
Yeah.
ahead and open up right next door.
And
And
all my
after I teach you
institutional
everything.
knowledge and
Yeah.
everything. And just
Yeah.
take my patients and my employees too.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead
And
do
my
all of it.
knowledge.
Everything. Literally take it all. Just
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah. So I'm glad, I really think, I feel like the pendulum is swinging a little bit back in the way of some common sense, all the way around in really in
Yeah.
everything. And it's just nice to see. But what I did love was the TFI, the Tooth Fairy Index. I think
Yeah.
that should be a true gauge of the
Benchmark.
economy. Yeah.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. Who's watching the NASDAQ? Boring.
It's the TFI. It's what it's all
TFI
about.
all day, every day. Want to
Tooth
predict
Fairy.
the recession? What was the story I told you? That there were some statistics about a strip club that
Yes,
was a
that
publicly
as one
traded
of the
strip
best
club,
predictors for
and it was one
an
of the
oncoming.
one of the best predictors of recession. I think the TFI might be either better or at least a solid second.
Yeah, well, and high-end restaurants. I was at one of my, and we got to bring our guests on a second, but I made a stop in my North Myrtle Beach office. There was always this place, Bistro 90. They have just this beautiful bourbon selection. They make some of the best old fashions. They always do a craft cocktail. This was a special, and this week was a paper plane. But it had been a couple of months since I'd been there. Stopped in there and was speaking with the owner, and we were just talking about how things were, and he said, man, it is down. And it's a high-end restaurant, one of the nicest in the area. And he's like, it's down. He goes, my grocery bills are too high for me not to raise prices. The supermarkets were able to get away with the rising costs because, they had smaller packaging and they could kind of sneak it in a little bit, but they had no way to do that in the restaurant business. So when you start out with high-end products and good servings, there's no way to take that away from the consumer and not have them notice. And they said they are just way down. And so it's a little bit scary. And, Chad, what about the strip clubs? Did you find that true?
I've been broke for a while, man. I mean, I've been broke for a while, but let me tell you something. On the way back from Oklahoma, we did stop at WinStar, which is the world's largest casino. And you can't tell there's a recession in that parking lot.
Nor can you at Buc-ee's.
But what you can tell is that walkers and hover-rounds are in high demand.
So maybe that's the businesses we should be going into.
Yeah.
Walkers, hover-rounds, and Marlboro Lights. Let me tell you something. That's all you need to have a successful
It sounds
casino.
like a Robert Earl Keen song.
Yeah. There's a country song there for sure.
I'm going to get to my writing book out afterwards, and I'm going to write it. Yeah.
Chatty, why don't you introduce our guest?
Yeah, I'd be honored to. As I mentioned their name, would you bring them to the stage, Jeff?
I'd be happy to.
So where do I start here? Because I happen to know both of these guests. So I'm going to start right here. I think it's probably been about 15 years now. My business partner and I had the same sales representative for a very long time, and he decided to move on to another profession. And we were told that this guy was going to come into our office. And, we're a relationship office. We've always worked off of a relationship. We didn't know what we were going to get, and this guy, Scott Boldt, walks into our office. And, as soon as you meet Scott Boldt, he's instantly a friend. He's an amazing human being. He's no stranger to dentistry. Everybody knew Scott's dad because Scott's dad had been an independent sales rep for a long time. Everybody knew Norm, and Norm was a wonderful man. And then Scott comes in. Everybody knew Scott's sister because she's an independent sales rep. And then you've got, the black sheep of the family in Scott, and he came into the office. But anyhow, Scott's been with Midwest for quite some time. He's an award-winning sales professional. He's on Midwest Advisory Council, if I can talk. I'm sorry. He was instrumental in the creation of the MPS program, which is now the big component of AIDA. He truly values maintaining strong client relationships built on trust. And I can attest to that. I would trust Scott with my life. He is based in Fort Worth. He was born and raised, graduated from TCU, where he met his wife, Jill. Together, they've raised 3 children, Liam, Brooke, and Charlotte. Outside of work, he is an avid cyclist. He can kick anybody's butt on the bike. He's very fit. He plays guitar in his family band. And yes, I did say that, his family band. We lovingly refer to them as the Partridge Family because that's pretty much what they are. They're a little bit country and they're a little bit rock and roll, but man, they can do it upright. So Scott, welcome to Center Stage. But now I got to introduce number 2. About a year.
You just call him number 2?
Yeah. Well, Scott's number 1. I mean, we're going to face it. I mean, Tim's not much, but anyhow, about a year after Scott came to our office, at the time I was a really avid cyclist myself, and Scott asked me to go do the Hotter Than Hell 100, which is a crazy bike race out of Wichita Falls, Texas. And in Wichita Falls, Texas, there's only a few good things that have come out of Wichita Falls, Texas.
Officer and a gentleman.
That bike race, the bike race, and Midwest Dental. But anyhow, he says, hey, we're going to go to the Hotter Than Hell 100, and we're going to ride this bike race with our COO, Tim. And so I didn't know what I was getting into, and I met Tim also 14, 15 years ago, and the rest is history. Tim is also an amazing human being. He's a father. He's a grandfather. He's an awesome husband to his beloved wife. He's a friend to many. And Midwest Dental is a bunch of fraternity brothers that actually got it together and have done a dental company right. So Tim has been with Midwest since May of 1992. Is that correct, Tim?
That's correct.
May of 1992, which was about 2 years after he was born. So he started with Midwest when he was 2 years old.
No, I was 13.
He's a board member of the Texas Oral Health Coalition. He's a proud graduate of Midwestern State University, and he's just another pretty awesome dude. So I'm honored to not only call these people colleagues, but to call them friends. And they've since become friends of my 2 other friends, but I just want to reiterate that they're better friends of mine than they'll ever be of theirs. So y'all have that. Suck it, folks. So, but literally two.
That's just hoping you pull a couple of boxes of gloves out of your trunk when you show up at his office on Monday.
Hey, let me tell you something. If I say I need something, they ask, how quick do you need it? And it's there like that. And that's the honest to God truth. So
love it.
Thank you for the introduction.
Guys. Thank you. What a gracious introduction. Thank you.
You got most of it right. I mean, you did pretty well.
That's actually really good for him, Tim.
Yeah. I remember that Hotter Than Hell because I remember Scott saying he was bringing there's a couple of dentists there, and I remember seeing you for the first time, and it was this really fit looking guy. It looks like he just walked out of the cycling shop. He had the shoes and the shorts and the socks and the helmet. I'm like, man, this guy's going to blow the wheels off. And I don't remember if you did or not. You probably did. But I was really impressed with how you looked, and that's a big part of the deal. So.
Well, hey, man, it's kind of like my golf clubs. They're always good, but it doesn't mean that they work. But here's the deal, y'all. For those of you that don't know, the Hotter Than Hell 100 is in Wichita Falls. And when is it? Like next weekend?
It's this Saturday.
Yeah, this Saturday.
Okay. And it is truly hotter than hell. And it's 100 miles. And you get to, if you make it the whole way, when you get to about mile 96, 97, you start seeing people literally just dropping on the side of the road because it's so freaking hot. The first time you do it, it's just, dear God, let me finish. And then the next few times, it's like you actually start racing against yourself. But the one thing that Tim did point out, he's like, hey, are any of us stopping at mile 96 at the beer shed? These guys, for the past several years, they serve free beer. And by the time you get to mile 96, the last thing you want is a beer. You just want to get off the damn bike. So
Yeah. And once you get off, you don't get back on. So if you stop there, it was a 96-mile ride.
Yeah.
It was about mile 80 when you turn and you go into the south wind. And of course, Wichita Falls is all exposed. So the last 20 miles are a beatdown. You come through the finish line and they have a fire hydrant that's just open, running constantly. And then they have a tent where it's just rows of where you can get IVs. That's the kind of event it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hot. It's hot, but it's fun.
The last
I don't cycle anymore because I don't ever want to do it again.
The last one I rode was about 6 or 7 years ago. I haven't ridden it since, and at the 80-mile mark, I'd stopped. I'm like, I'm done. I haven't trained enough. I'm going to kill myself. And literally a minute later, I was going to take a sag wagon. My daughter calls, and she's in from college, and she's at the finish line waiting for me. So it's like, okay, I'll be there. I'll get there. So ended up making it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Dr. Horowitz is speaking, but I can't hear him.
He muted himself, and then he forgot that he did it.
Yeah.
Maybe he's talking to someone else.
Muted. You muted yourself.
Yeah, Jeff, you're still muted.
Well, if you know. So
Did you
anyhow,
like us just to do lip reading?
JB, while Jeff's trying to figure out how to hit the unmute button, would you like to start this conversation off?
I would love to.
Screen frozen. Oh no!
You know, you gotta love technology.
One time he was on the sideways during it. The other was like a little speaker thing. Could be operator error. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight, and thank you also for continued support in building this relationship between Dinks and AIDA. I know we have genuinely enjoyed it, and hopefully you feel the same. But tell us a little bit about what got you started in the industry, and honestly, what keeps you moving in the industry? Like, why are you still here in dentistry after all this time, sort of investing in the profession, and what have you seen?
Scott, you want me to go first, or you want to go first?
Absolutely, you go first.
Okay, well, my story is very parallel to Midwest. I came to Midwest. Matt Levisser started the company in 1988 in Wichita Falls. He and his wife, literally out of their garage. There he goes. And I knew Matt kind of casually. We weren't close friends, but I called on him from the business I was in. It was another distribution business. We got to know each other. And in 1992, I'd had my third child. I just bought a house and thought, hey, I'm going to jump on with this startup. What could go wrong, right? I had all these responsibilities, but it was literally the best business decision I've ever made. The way we run Midwest Dental, we've grown. I was employee number 7. We now have 175 employees. We have 4 locations. Had this tremendous growth and tremendous amount of success. But the thing that I'm most proud of, and Scott is too, and all of us, is that we're the same company as we were then. We started this company on very simple principles, and that is taking care of people. You take care of your customers and you take care of your employees. Everything else works out. Everything goes from there. And today we're still that company, and I'm very proud of that. And everything has happened along the way, right? Great times, terrible times, challenges, fun. It's a great industry. I love being a part of it. One of my big whys is Scott Boldt. Seeing him, he came to work for us. I won't tell your whole story. He came to work for us, out of college, and we've been through him getting married and him having his 3 kids and him rising to the top of our sales team and being number 1. And for Midwest to have some little part of that success and of that beautiful family, I mean, that means everything to me and to us, beyond just running a business. It's helping 175 families be productive and have good lives too. So that's a big part of what it is for me, outside of just being part of dentistry and having connections like you all. It's fantastic. The way we run this business, and the vision has always been formed from our customers, feedback from our customers, feedback from our sales reps who are on the street, and that has served us well.
So Chad said, he has always tried to maintain a relationship business, as we talk about a lot on this program, how important the relationships are. And how do you see that as a factor for Midwest, and what differentiates you from maybe some of the bigger suppliers, some of the suppliers that maybe focus more on the large groups and some of the others? And by the way, I was going to say earlier that at 90 miles, I start looking for flights. And that's what I was trying to say when I had some technical issues. But the more important question here is really about the relationship thing, and what separates Midwest. What makes you all so different from dealing with just any other company that can sell supplies?
I'll take that first, Scott, and then I'll let you give your answer.
Yep.
I mean, it's all relationships. We've spent 35 years trying to do the right thing by people, by our manufacturers, by our customers, by our employees. And what we do through those relationships is build partnerships. And through those partnerships are where all the benefits come out for all of us. We are not a company that does negotiation on a win-lose basis, right? We want our partners on the manufacturing side, or our business partner, we want everybody to be healthy in a relationship. In our opinion, that's the way the industry continues to move forward. So to me, the relationship is the building block of everything that comes after that.
That's great.
I'll add to that, just backtracking a little bit about how I got into this industry to answer Dr. Bell's question. When I graduated from college, I had intentions of actually being a firefighter. And 9/11 had happened, and in Fort Worth, where I live, they had put a lock on, or a freeze on hiring firefighters. And so my dad worked for Midwest Dental, had always been in the industry. He had worked for Dentsply. I grew up going to conventions with him, helping set up his booth. He would have a compressor in his garage, a drilled bone, and with a handpiece, because he sold the Midwest handpieces. And so when this opportunity arose when I graduated from college, I was hired on at Midwest. I did not have intentions of being a sales rep, because I saw my dad talking on the phone and driving a lot, and I was like, I don't want to do that. But here I came, and I got married, and we started having children, and I started to learn the industry. And that's where now to answer your question on what sets us apart. I'll just give a couple of examples. To this day, almost 22 years later, I can text Tim, who's our COO. I can text our owner, Matt Leviser, and I can have an answer. Like I just texted Tim the other day, within seconds. And it can be maybe about one of our business partnerships. And I feel that, and I realize I'm somewhat limited in the sense of my perspective, because I'm only worked here at Midwest since college. But from what I've heard, I mean, we can turn around and do what we need to do quickly, which is in turn for the customer and my clients. I really feel that they've sensed a value in that. And when I met Dr. Duplantis, he actually joined our MPS program back in 2016. So this was a budding thing that started quite a while ago. And in the very beginning, it was, from where it is now, it's so much larger. And to see all the independent dentists that have come on with that, and with the help of someone like Dr. Duplantis and his voice, that's where I feel that we have differentiated, because we were one of the the very first in the dealer world that really came to the independent dentists and said, hey, this is the bulk of our businesses. We really want to help them. And I think we've kept that our focus and still want that to be our focus.
Go
ahead.
I was just going to say, what are some of we all know that there are definitely some unique challenges going on in dentistry right now, particularly in the last 5 years. Have you seen new products or new offerings or things that you've been able to bring to your clients that have like truly solved a pain point? And you're like, man, I'm so glad that I knew about that and that I brought that to them because it was cool to watch it be so impactful in their lives. Or maybe it's a software or, you know, just something you learn from somebody down the street or whatever, because you're in so many offices throughout the week. You have so much interaction with dentists on the ground. Like we're very siloed, you know, and we kind of only know our own pain points, and we operate fairly independently most of the time. So do you have any of those impactful moments or stories that you might want to share?
Scott? That's probably,
you know, that comes up almost every day. And it can be something as small as I was in an office today and I was talking to a hygienist, and she said, hey, I want to order these Dura White stones, these greeny stones. And I said, oh, for sharpening. And I said, I saw that video, and it was about how you can now sharpen your instruments, putting them into this handpiece, these stones, and sharpen them more quickly. And I said, we got together, collaborated on that. I sent her some information. She sent me some information. And I think now I'm going to go to my clients and show them that little pearl, you know, because it's not something really you would learn somewhere else. Of course, there's so much technology going on, and you have to kind of cut through the fluff. Dr. Duplantis knows this better than anyone. You know, I go in his office, and he has tried so many pieces of technology, and I've really learned from him, actually. So, and to say another thing about that, I'll have a lot of dentists that they'll come to me about questions about cementation, or they'll come to me about or digital dentistry. And here, because I'm local here in DFW, Dr. Duplantis has said, hey, give out my cell phone. So I've done that several times, and he's helped them. So trying to connect dentists on some of those new products and that new technology. Of course, everyone's talking about 3D printing and scanning, and you know, you've got changes on things that are, for y'all, that are terrible, like dentures, and that are coming down the pipeline that makes things a little easier. So that's helpful.
Yeah.
Well, you brought something really interesting up about how your customers actually become part of a community now, that you kind of connect some of your customers with other customers, taking what you've learned with one of your customers, sharing it with another customer. So give everyone out there maybe a little bit of insight about why you thought the American Independent Dental Alliance was the right organization to partner with, and how Midwest fits into that, and what you saw as the potential for an organization like AIDA.
Well, let me take that and I'll back up just a little bit. When we started our Midwest Partner Solutions in 2015, we started seeing the DSOs getting more prevalent. And I lived in Wichita Falls at the time, and the DSOs were in the metropolitan areas. Then they started moving out into the rural areas and the smaller cities. And when we saw that and the feedback we were getting, it was making everybody nervous. So, you know, at that point, we decided to craft a plan that addressed all of the things that an office owned by a DSO received. You know, help with obviously pricing, formulary type pricing, and benefits from business partners, marketing. As you all know, you're the CFO and the CEO and the COO of your office, and so we have over the years put together this program where we can affect your dental office in all those ways. to help put them on a level playing field with the DSO. That was the whole intent of it. Well, one of the things that, and I think it's just a scale thing, one of the things we were never able to really get accomplished was this sense of community. You know, we had 500 or 600 members in this, which was nice. It was a nice size group where we could go get a lot of great deals and contracts, but we were never able to pull off the community part of it and bringing it all together. So when AIDA comes along and they're offering education, which really is where community is driven, in my opinion, it just made perfect sense. It fit right into what we were doing. It allowed us to take the next step. It's all about numbers, right? It's all about putting all this together. So now we have 2,200 dental offices. Technically, we're the biggest DSO in the country. So it's all about putting that together, packaging it, and then going forward and getting the contracts and deals that these big DSOs are getting to continue to keep us on the level playing field, because it's still, and I think it's social media is so dominated by the DSOs that it's our job, or one of our jobs, is to be talking to our dental offices. Hey, you can be an independently owned office. You can be super successful. You can have a great work-life balance. All you need is some partnerships and some help, and all that is true without losing any part of your office. So that's kind of where we are and how we got with AIDA. And of course, you know, the other three distributors are very like-minded, family-owned companies who are based on service, based on doing things the right way.
You know, one of the stories that I want to share with Tim and Scott in the forefront here is that I think it was about 3 years ago, we were just kind of getting started on Dentists in the Know, and there was a mutual friend of ours that said, hey, you know, Tim, you need to talk to Chad about education. So Tim and I went and met at a Mexican restaurant and, you know, maybe had a beer or two, and we talked about what the future of education in dentistry looks like. And at the time, I think that one of the best dental dealers as far as education was concerned was Midway Dental, which is no longer in existence. And I said, Tim, you really need to talk to Don Metcalf. And he goes, I know, but you know, I don't know what we need to do. Well, now if you look at what Midwest and AIDA have done, they've brought Don Metcalf in. Don Metcalf's running the education department for AIDA Education. And I'm telling you, you know, you look at the offerings for what AIDA is offering to members. If you're an AIDA member or if you're not an AIDA member, you're missing out if you're not participating in the education. I mean, there is some great education. I mean, there are things. I'm taking my entire team to Aspire this year, and I'm super excited because I feel that the education is so valuable that they're offering. And so, you know, Tim knew what they needed to do. They did it. And he mentioned a few minutes ago that education's a big part of it. And I think they should be very proud of their offerings in doing so.
Well, and that was all relationship, right? We knew each other, we knew her, and she does a fantastic job. She is so good at the details, like Aspire 2024 just doesn't miss anything. Every little detail. She's very, very good at what she does, and we're very lucky to have her running that department for us.
And Scott, I'm going to ask you because, you know, I think this should be a plug for that as well as anything else. Tell us a little bit about why you feel that somebody looking into this should possibly go to Aspire 2025.
Yeah, that was a game changer, because every new office that I come into contact, and if they choose to do business with Midwest and me, they become a AIDA member, an MPS member with us. And when I went to my first Aspire back here in January, I was already a believer in the program, the AIDA program, obviously. But going and seeing all these independent dentists together, watching the education, hanging out with them in the afternoon because the education's over with by noon. And so all these independent dentists from, Atlanta Dental, Nashville Dental, Getsy Dental, us, we're hanging out and we're talking about the challenges. And Dr. Duplantis, you even talked about some of the challenges there, which was a great springboard for when we were having our own conversations later on with some of the dentists that I brought and meeting some from other parts of the country. That's what just made me go from a 99% believer to a 100% believer. So just where you feel that there's other people out there going through the same thing, and it's really not that bad. There's a lot of people out there that are independent dentists, and I think that the education is top notch. In with what Tim was saying, from the moment you land in the transportation into the app you download that tells you, hey, exactly what you're going to do, it is such a well-run event that we left there, and the parties were superb as well. And there's a lot of time to hang out too. It's not just education; it's have a good time.
Good education and a good time, right?
That's right.
And who doesn't like mimosas?
Great education and a great time. Like literally, there's a party every night. The first year back, before we did it with AIDA education, the first year, last year, prior to that, Don had been putting these events together in Cancun. And that first year with Don, I had done exactly what you did, Chad, and I'd brought my whole team, and what a sense of community there was. And that's why when we started working with Don, we're like, okay, this needs to translate over to AIDA. This needs to be something that is shared, because if we're truly going to have a community of like-minded dentists, we need to really put something together that blows everybody's socks off. And that's exactly what's happened. 3 great parties, lots of great education, lots of time. You get your personal time, beautiful, safe resort, gorgeous. It's everything you want in a CE event that you can share with other people.
And I think this year there might be a golf tournament.
Golf?
Yeah. We might get Scott Boldt on the golf course.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott.
Good at that.
Scott, you could drive the cart, right?
I can drive the cart.
Okay, there you go. Then you're on the golf course.
Yeah. I hear it's a PGA course out there.
Most of them are, Scott. We'll talk about that later.
Riviera. See, it shows how much I know about golf.
220, 221, whatever it takes.
I'm teasing. Yeah, right.
That was a good one.
Yeah. Anyhow, I digress. So one of the things that I wanted to mention, and you guys briefly alluded to this, but I get a very similar feel from the other 3 companies that are involved with AIDA, is that there's a lot of jokes that go around about kind of the good old boy society and, a good old boy crew or whatever, but that's exactly what these 4 companies are. And when I think of that term, I think of somebody that looks out for people like their family. And I sense that amongst the other 4 companies. So like you said earlier, Tim, you guys all found kind of like-minded companies to partner with. And I think you all have a very similar mentality. And one of the things that I also want to compliment you all on is that I want to know why you think that this is, but you have some pretty heavy hitters with larger dental companies that desire to work for you all or for one of the other 3 companies. Have you all found the secret sauce as to why that's the case? I know Scott can't answer that because he's been with you all since he's been in diapers, but everybody else, you have a lot of people that swing from some pretty heavy hitters in the dental industry.
Yeah. I think it goes back to, you get a reputation for treating people right and and I'll say one thing, and I think this applies to us for sure, and for the other companies as well, is that philosophy that we bring is not just a business philosophy; it's a life philosophy. So it comes across as natural. It's not forced, right? You treat people right because it's how you live your life, not because you want them to buy something from you. And I think that comes across. And over the years, because 10 years ago, we really didn't have that, but over years of building reputation and trying to do the right things, people are attracted. They see the Scott Boldts and they want to be part of, our family and our team, because they hear, and like Scott was saying, they have a voice. They help the direction of the company. We depend on them for feedback to help us with our vision and where the company is going to go. That's where it all comes from. So that's attractive to people.
Well, and I think Scott kind of touched on this too. I'm sure many people don't get that same experience that they can pick up their cell phone and text the COO and CEO and owners of companies now. Like, take a large conglomerate. I mean, there's so many layers between the decision makers and the doers out there on the ground every day. And you've removed so many of those barriers in between to allow them to feel like they're a part of the company and a part of the process and a part of the family. And actually, that resonates more with dentists than anything, because that's exactly how we operate too. If there's no one on my team that can't pick up their cell phone and text me or call me or provide feedback to how we're doing and how we can improve. So, that mentality of accessibility is probably why you are so attractive, is because many went into the dental field because it's a cottage industry. If you were on the sales side or dentist or whatever, we all went into it because it wasn't a huge industry for a very long time. And so I think that's why, there's plenty of folks out there that would like to get back to that, would like to feel like a family again.
Yeah, I think you touch on something important there too, in that, we understand a dental office because we're a small business too, right? We have really the same challenges, maybe a little bit different, but we get you and you get us too. So that makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you talk for a second about, because we've touched on a couple of things. We've touched on community, why that's so important. We've talked about education. We've talked about differentiating yourselves with customer service and relationships with your customers. Can you talk for a minute about all of the other services? Because people look at something like this and say, okay, so they're affiliated with this group called AIDA now, and it's now the largest DSO out there. So yeah, they can probably get me some good deals. They can probably get me really good pricing on a lot of stuff. And you do. Like, AIDA members get really great pricing on a lot of things. But besides that, and besides the education, there are so many other things that come along with that. Can you maybe touch on some of the other services that come along with that when someone becomes an AIDA member or someone becomes engaged with a Midwest Dental?
Scott, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I'd like to. Our MPS program, which is part of AIDA, is Midwest Partner Solutions. And like I explained to clients, the partners are not just the manufacturer partners, the Kerrs, Kararis, Dentsply's, all those. It's those business partners. And we lean heavily on them. Just like if you lean heavily on us, I want to be your go-to guy, answers all your questions, but of course I don't know everything. So I'm going to lean heavily on those business partners. And AIDA has allowed us to bring in all these business partners that now we can, I guess what I'm trying to say here, I guess that the big thing that we deal with now, it's not as much product as it's more how I'm going to help you grow your business. My manager, who did what I did years ago, he always told me when I first started, he's like, be an employee of their practice. And And I know what he means by that. Like, come to me and let me be the one that's going to do the work for you as your account manager. And so there's other resources. Like, I'll give a shout out to one of my colleagues, because he's done such a great job at this. And just talking about your building experience that you had earlier in the on this show, my colleague who does the same thing that I do, Eric Swarvar, he's actually written a book on how to open up your first practice, called the 2-Hour Dental Startup. And our design team as well, one of the things you do when you become an AIDA member, we're going out there, we're helping you through that whole process, through those business partners, coming and doing site checks every single week with your builder, to make sure you're not going to run into a situation where you're going to have costly mistakes. And I think those relationships, outside of the cost of just, hey, you know, how much is, you know, this cotton roll is 12 cents more. You know, when those costly mistakes come up, or those partnerships that really help grow your business, that's the key to this whole program and what Midwest offers.
Yeah, I mean, we try to match our business partners to the pain points, you know, in a dental office, whether that's marketing or personnel or payroll or cell phones or whatever that is. We have over 50 business partners that help out in those areas. But I think one of the key things to that is we don't just bring them in. We really spend time with them, because we don't want to walk someone into your office who doesn't do business, doesn't have the same values that we do. So we're very careful about who those partners are. But again, it comes from feedback, you know, from our customers and our sales team, as what are those pain points and how can we best help solve those.
Excuse me. I just think that's such an important piece of this. Excuse me. It's such an important piece of this, because yes, you know, good pricing is important, but it's at the end of the day, you know, you're talking about the difference between 5% of your overhead versus 4%. And so many of these other things that impact our bottom line are so often overlooked. And when you have a good partner that says, hey, yeah, we're going to get you really good pricing, but yeah, we might save you 1% at the end of the day, you know, by doing that, you know, on your bottom line. But there are all these other things that we could possibly help you save 3 or 4% additionally on your bottom line. And that's what's really important to dentists right now. So I really wanted it to be known how many other services you all offer, and that, you know, where you actually partner with your dentists who are customers.
Yeah. And you know, you don't know what you don't know. And offices who haven't experienced what value Scott Boldt, with his level of knowledge and with his relationships and network, if you haven't experienced that, you probably don't understand it and the value he can bring, because it's a huge value. And we do have competitive pricing, as you all know, but the value of a good person that's working with you and partnering with you in your office means a lot. And it's our job to educate people how much that can mean to their practice.
Well, my one takeaway from the night is that I am paying 12 cents more per cotton roll than Eric Swarvar's customers.
Right.
And Scott, we're going to have a talk on Monday. Okay.
I'll fix that.
Okay. No.
Well, that's pretty much all that.
Do what?
Do cotton rolls even cost 12 cents?
Yeah.
Apparently they do. Apparently they do. Apparently I'm paying 13. Eric's customers
How
are
much are you paying for cotton rolls, man?
Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing with my 13-cent cotton rolls, but I sure
he now has he has an allowance in his office. They are only allowed to put one cotton roll on right now.
They cut it in half if they're doing the mandible.
I just gave a lecture right before this, and I told them that they need to use at least 2 cotton rolls. That's 26 cents per every crown that they cement.
Hey, yours is extra special, super absorbent. So,
Okay.
you know,
All
come on, you have the best of the best.
I have the Charmin of cotton rolls.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it has built-in suction.
Yeah.
Tim, is Eric Squarvar taking new customers?
Oh, I don't know. He's pretty busy.
No, all kidding aside. Hey guys, I do want to share the deal that you all are offering to all of our Dinks members. And you know, we would be amiss if we missed that. But the other thing that I want you all to share is, do you guys want to share what's coming up on the educational agenda for at least the Midwest portion of AIDA?
Sure.
I caught you off guard. Did I?
Have that somewhere, but not.
I
in
know
my
we
hand.
have Amber Auger coming up.
Yes, Amber Augur's
I
coming
believe
up in
that
Dallas.
is October the 4th in Dallas, Texas.
That's correct. In Dallas, September 27th, Dr. Jeff Horowitz is in Oklahoma City.
There you go.
We have a meeting in the Rio Grande Valley Friday, in which we have 392 people signed up. It's going to be crazy.
Freaking awesome.
And then, of course, we have the virtual. Amber's doing a virtual 3-part series coming up this fall. But the big thing is Aspire in January, and we're really looking to have a big crew of people there. It's going to be a great meeting.
I tell you, you guys
Sorry
are
if I screwed that up, by the way.
No, you didn't, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but one of the reasons that I brought it up is unprovoked. I had 2 hygienists come to me this week and say, "Hey, do you know what AIDA is?" And I said, "Yeah," and they go, "Are we a member?" And I'm like, "Yeah." "What's our number?" I go, "I have no freaking idea." And they said, "Well, can we register for this course?" I said, "You know what? 100%. You bet you can." So, you know, the word's getting out, and I think, you know, the education is getting out there because it's not just education; it's damn good education. And it made me really proud that my team's starting to see it without my influence, and it's just
that's great.
Yeah.
I love to hear that. Yeah, that's
very
that's
excited.
fantastic.
So you got them for Amber, you got them for Aspire. I'm turning them over to you. So
Good deal.
anyhow,
Yeah, that's great to hear. And that was one of the things Scott texted me about this week was your AIDA number.
yeah. I didn't know it. I don't know. And Scott comes back. "I think it's your MPS number."
Your
I'm
account
like,
number, yeah.
all right, I'm calling Sandy next time. So,
Go right to the source.
because I know that Scott and Tim obviously aren't worth a damn on that. So, hey,
That's a perfect segue for the slide that you just put up, because one of the things that AIDA has really been trying to do is to let everybody know about all the services they offer, and that they are also very competitive on pricing as well. And so what the 4 companies that are partnered with AIDA, which is Midwest Dental, Atlanta Dental, Nashville Dental, and Getsy Dental, what they've done is they've put together an offer, and they've done something really pretty incredible, which is that they've said this is good for all the dentists in the know. Everyone who is watching, everyone who is listening, you do not have to be an AIDA member to take advantage of this deal. They just want to get you to know the companies. So take advantage of this deal, because I can tell you, I have used these advanced gloves. They are phenomenal. Chad, have you used these?
I have used these advanced gloves.
Yeah. Love them. And they put together a great deal. So either Tim or Scott, do you want to talk about the offer that you have for everyone on Dentists in the Know?
Sure. Go ahead, Scott.
we got a buy 7 get 3 free. So if, as you can see there, it's going to bring your net cost down to on that 2.7 glove, which is our most popular glove. Very tactile. You can feel great through it. It's I need glasses now. It's $372 per 100 gloves. So very competitive price. This is mainly what the offices I call on use. And we do have one that, of course, is a little bit thicker, the 3.2 as well.
Yeah, and these are great gloves.
$372 per 100 gloves. That would bring your cost down to 3 cotton rolls per glove.
Yes, that's correct.
What does that
You
mean?
can put one cotton roll on
You can
each
get
finger.
1 glove and 3 cotton rolls for 37.2 cents a glove.
I'm never going to live that down.
No, you can't.
Nope.
So if you use the code would be plant us, we'll put 3 cotton rolls in the box.
Yeah.
So the buy 7 get 3 free is buy 7 boxes of gloves, get 3
Three
free
cotton rolls.
And Jeff and I always have to throw a movie quote in there. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go in between this shelf and this shelf, not excluding anything on the left or on the right. You can get 1 box of gloves for $3.72. So
there you go.
Honestly,
anyhow,
this net cost on these gloves is great. I'd encourage you to take advantage of this. Again, there's no obligation for anyone out there to join anything. They just want you to get to know them, and no obligation whatsoever. There's a code at the bottom that you see there, which is Dinky G24. Dinky G24, like a bingo thing.
Yeah.
I love it. This is great. Dinky G24. So when you place your order, and you can do so with Midwest Dental if you're in one of their states, Atlanta Dental, Nashville Dental, Getsy Dental. All of the different partner distributorships are going to be honoring this deal. So this is really great of you all to do this. And I think it's a great way for all of our members to kind of get to know you.
Yeah, exactly. Gives them a chance to get to know us and how we do business. We're going to love that opportunity.
I don't know if it's a deal or if it's a wrapper, but I'm going to go with bingo. Dinky G24. Anyhow, we're way over time, but I could have gone all night with you guys. I think the world of you all. And I just want to say as we close that, thank you for being here. Thank you both for time away from your families. Scott, thank you for visiting the Ozark House and actually joining us this evening. Right outside, I'm sure there's some cartel waiting for you to come out and start plowing the field. But anyhow, both of you, thank you all very much for being here.
Thank you.
Dentistry is so much more than a profession, than pricing, than, even more than education. It's about relationships. And I feel that you all really epitomize that. And I want to thank you all so much for what you've done for my practice, for what you've done for dentistry, for what you've done for AIDA. And just thank you all for being here and for being great partners of Dentists in the Know. So thank you all very much. And see everybody next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Night.
Have a good night.
Good
Good night, John Boy.